everyone. I'm recording this on request for those that couldn't make it to our in-person Foundations of Public Health meeting in October, and also just as a refresher for those of you that were in the meeting and would like to go over this again. So this is just a quick overview of what the final project is going to look like and some more information on posters for those of you that have never done a poster session and maybe don't know what I mean when I say that. Okay, so let's talk about first what it'll actually look like for doing your project presentations in November. So this will still be virtual. You'll be doing your presentation virtually. We will divide you into breakout rooms when we get into the session. So we'll do a quick overview of what you'll be doing, and then we'll put you into those breakout rooms. You'll be with 4 others that are in this class, and then 1 facilitator. It will either be Sonia or I, or it will be Joanna Sabali or Destiny Wheeler, 2 other folks on our Wichita State University Community Engagement Institute team. So that'll be your group. You'll have just those 5 in the room with you, so that's all you'll be presenting to. We will do 2 rounds of that. So after you present, you will be put into another breakout room with a new group of participants, and you'll give your presentation to that group as well. You'll have 5 minutes to present in each of those breakout rooms, and these are on the poster already and they're included in the final project guide. But some of the things we want to make sure that you answer during that 5 minutes are: what was my aspiration? What was the challenge that you identified to help you figure out that you wanted to do this project? What models or published resources did you use or explore? Who else from your team or from external partners did you bring to the table? What were the results, if you have them? I know some of you have developed a project that you might still be in the middle of, but whatever results you do have. And then what did you learn? Overall, we really want to make sure that you're connecting your project clearly to one or more of the foundational capabilities. And the poster template that we'll look at in a minute should really help you with making sure that you're connecting that, because it really guides you to help pick that. But that's what we want to take away from this overall, is how did you connect to the foundational capabilities that we talked about in this program? All right, so that's 5 minutes of each time that you're in the breakout rooms, but the rest of the time you are going to be a participant or a listener. And we really want to make sure that you're being an active listener and really giving some of that constructive feedback to your colleagues that are in the program. So while you are not the ones presenting, we want some things for you to be watching out for. So one of those is what worked. Look at the content, look at the presentation design. Let the presenter know what actually worked for what they're doing and what they did well. We also want you to be thinking while you're listening, what are you curious about now? And that could look like, what are some possible next steps? What's something specific to the 8 capabilities, especially if coming away from the presentation, you're still a little unclear of how they connected those capabilities. How is this similar to work that you do or others in your community lead? And just be prepared overall to ask the presenter a gentle question. Everybody will have their 5 minutes to present, and then they'll have about 4 to 5 minutes for you guys to ask questions. And so just remember, as somebody, while you're giving the presentation, it's awkward to sit there in silence. So make sure that you're an active listener and not contributing to that awkward silence, and have some of those questions on hand for you to be able to ask. All right, so that's some details on what the actual logistics of that day will look like while you're presenting and while you're being that active listener. But now I want to get over to what it looks like to actually make your poster and what a poster session means, what we mean when we say a poster session. So for those of you that haven't been to a conference before where you've attended a poster session or done an activity like this, I just put a couple pictures on the screen that kind of represent what that poster session might look like when you're going to a conference. So typically, you can see over on the right-hand side, there's a whole bunch of posters there. Sometimes it's more than this, sometimes it's less than this, but this is the general idea of what a poster session will look like. You'll have those that brought a poster with them, standing typically by the poster that they have hung up in the exhibit hall. And what they're trying to do is get people like you to walk up and down those aisles, look at the posters, find the ones that catch your eye, and come over and talk to them more about the projects or the research that they're doing. just to get the word out about what those activities were. Over on the left-hand side, you can just see an example of what a poster might look like when somebody's coming up to you. So this lady in the gray has drawn somebody's eye with her poster, and that person is over there now reading what's on the poster, asking follow-up questions, giving some feedback, and just getting more information about the work that the person doing the poster session has done in the past. Maybe getting some ideas of what she can do herself, or just learning more in general. On this and the next few slides, I'm just going to give some screenshots of posters that Sonia and I found. These were from one of the KPHA conferences where they did a virtual poster session. So these are just kind of floating out there as examples of things that have been done in Kansas. But really just wanted to give you an overview of what those posters look like. So you can see that, kind of like the template that I've set up for you guys, they have different sections. And so the sections are giving relevant information under that heading. The main thing that I want to point out on this is that in all of the examples I'll show, they've all got charts, graphics, that type of thing to help, again, draw your eye in. So there are, especially in the background section, for example, there's a lot of words on here, but I wouldn't say it's too many, because the main point is to bring somebody closer to you so that they can actually read what the poster says and interact with you. This one is really something that I can see somebody coming up to because they see that map of Kansas. They see, oh, okay, we're looking at where food insecurity is in Kansas, and they can see that nice chart to help say, I want to come in and I want to learn more about what this is. Another example that we found, this one would really draw somebody in, I think. Lots of bright colors, really interesting to look at. I would walk down an aisle, see this, and think, I want to learn more about this because this looks really cool and interesting. And it also just brings your eye. A lot of the thing with poster sessions is just catching somebody's eye and getting them to see something that will want them to come learn more from you. This is another one. This probably is more words than I would stick with, but they did do a good job of making bullet points instead of just lots of paragraphs. So it does break it up just a little bit. And then, of course, in the middle section, there are these pictures. When you can do real pictures, so for example, in the projects that you guys are doing, if you have pictures of things actually happening in your health department, that's a really good way to show what's going on visually, so that not everything relies on all the words on the page. And then this one, another example, the heat maps are always a great visual representation to show what's going on, especially if you can show it over time. And then this one's the same way as the last. Like, it looks like maybe a lot of words, but they're broken up by nice bullet points, so it's not trying to read full paragraphs of information. And then this is the last example that we pulled, but again, I think this one was really great. Great use of bullet points to help just make a sentence or two at a time that you're reading, charts and graphs, visually appealing with the colors. So hopefully having these examples that we were able to pull out gives you a good idea of what some of those posters might look like when you go to a conference poster session, and kind of what our line of thinking was when we were asking you guys to do this as the final part of your project. The next thing I'm going to do is pull up the template and just kind of walk you through what it might look like while you're working in that template. All right, we've talked a little bit about what the logistics of doing the actual presentations are, what a poster session is, and some examples of what posters might look like. So now I want to take some time to just look at what the template that I gave you was, so that you know how to work in there. So if you haven't already found it, if you haven't opened it up, it's in the participant resource page online, and this is what it'll look like when you open it. So it is a PowerPoint file, but what I do want to stress is we're not looking for a PowerPoint presentation where you're going to add multiple slides to this. It's going to be this one slide, And the way it's set up, the way it turns into a poster is that the template is set up in a size so that if you were to ever send this off to a printer, you could print it in the large, I think it's normally like 3 feet by 4 feet size to actually make a poster, and everything would come out nicely. So like you can see, this looks kind of tiny, but the font is 24, because what it's really intended to do is when it prints into that large size. So this is, again, just a template. Almost everything in here, aside from like the headings, you would keep. I did also let you guys know, if you don't want to use this template, it's totally fine. You can Google academic poster, PowerPoint slides. There's lots of different templates out there you can use. If you don't like these colors, you don't like the setup, this is just provided for you so that you know what we want those headings to look like, and just kind of the format that would help you get that point across. So I just want to show you how to work in the template. So one thing to point out is you can zoom in and out. And because that font looks pretty tiny, this might be the best way you can work so that you can go to each section place by place and work in it. This is all just font that's in there as a template. So I'm just going to say this is my test poster. I'm going to put my name in there and then move on to the other sections. So let's see. So if we're looking at like the foundational capability focus, for example, you can see that we put the question there, or the information on what exactly we're looking for in that section. So this one says that we want to know which foundational capability or capabilities did your project address. Please list any that you think apply, but if more than one is listed, also tell us which one you feel you addressed most. The thing I want to point out here is we don't need to see that. You can delete that once you start working in the template, because that's just for your information. You're going to share this with the team, so I can come in here and I can just completely override that. I'm going to say my foundational capability was communications, but I also did a little bit of, let's say, health equity. You can choose how you want to say which one you focused on most. You can do maybe a star. You could come up and bold the communications. Whatever you feel like you want to do to show that. The other thing to point out is that I set these up as little sections, but you might not need this entire area for foundational capability focus, but maybe you want to spend more of your area on challenges and opportunities. So all of these are just boxes that you can move. I can make that shorter. I can move this up, and then I can make this box bigger. So that then gives me more room to focus on another section. And again, you can move these around. We want you to keep the headers so that we know that you're focusing on those different sections, and that's what you'll be presenting on. But they can move. They can be bigger sizes. They can move around the page. If you feel like you want to make this font even bigger, make the font even bigger. That's totally fine. Another thing to point out, so again, this is just a text box. If you delete it, you can just add a new text box that goes inside there, is to be thinking about how I showed you on those poster presentation examples, that it really draws your eye in more when you have pictures and graphics. So we really encourage you not to just write paragraphs of information, but really to have something visual to go along with that. So that might mean I'm going to come in here. If you haven't worked in PowerPoint very much, you can go to Insert, and there's all sorts of things you can do. But one option might be a chart. You might have information that you want to put in a chart to show us. So there's all sorts of different chart types in here. You can pick whatever would represent your information the best. So let's say I want to do a bar chart. I can pick my style. I can go okay and stick that in. Oh, and hold on. We want to make that a lot smaller than it is. And then it can move to wherever I want to have it in my presentation. And then again, if you haven't worked in PowerPoint charts before, they're really easy to use. I can now click in here and make any changes I need to this. Not sure why it's not coming up with my, oh, there we go. Okay, so if you hit edit data, this is just the template information that's in there when you add a chart, but you can go in and put your own information in based on what you did. So maybe, let's give an example of maybe you did an immunization clinic and you wanted to show how many on each date. So I could put date 1, date 2, date 3, date 4, let's say kids and adults. And you can even take off different things. I'm going to say this is 10, 15, 6, 5. I'm just putting in completely random numbers here. But you can see now the chart has changed to have your information, and you can give it a title. So there's lots of stuff that you can do with charts in here. You can change colors as well to go with whatever theme, but charts are a really good way to show that information. I can also come in here, and if you have pictures, pictures are also awesome. You can go to insert pictures. I'm just going to find one that I have here. Let's see. I'm just going to put in my logo. You know, that would also probably be a good thing for you to have as a logo from your health department. Pictures of anything you did with your project. Again, that can be moved anywhere, wherever you feel like it's relevant for your presentation itself. That's about it. Once you're done with your PowerPoint slide, you can just go to Save As, save it in a place that you'll find it, and then you just send me that PowerPoint file. And I'll combine all of the PowerPoint files together so that when you're in your breakout group, your facilitator will have all of the files and click through them, so you won't have to do any of the share screen or anything like that. The facilitators will do the share screen for you, and you can just do your 5-minute presentation. If you have any questions about the presentations or the posters, or would like me to hop on a Zoom meeting with you to go through how to do this, just let me know. I would be happy to do that. So just reach out, and yeah, let us know if you have questions. We look forward to seeing all of these in November, and hope you guys have a great day. Thanks.